Well, thank you everyone for being here today. We are here really to talk about how important it is to treat veterans with the utmost respect. VAC has outsourced its delivery of Veterans Affairs to partners in Canada's Veterans Rehabilitation Service, or PCVRS, at a $560 million contract for 5.5 years with provisions to extend 3 times for 2 years. This is a business that is owned by Loblaws, and the rollout has been devastating. We saw severe delays, case managers that were not trained on how to use this system in a meaningful way, were not given the information to know about roles and what they were meant to do moving forward. We've heard from too many veterans who have been traumatized because they are having to go do long, lengthy interviews with rehab service specialists employed by the new company. And how many times do veterans have to tell us? Retelling their stories of trauma re-traumatizes them. They don't need to be put in a place where they're having to prove their experiences again and again and again. And this is what has happened with this new company. And we've also heard from way too many service providers. Some service providers that have provided direct services to veterans for 20 plus years who were not engaged moving forward. They were asking questions and receiving absolutely no answers, and far too many of them have told us that they are being paid less under this contract than the previous one. We know that the Union of Veterans Affairs Employees, along with PSAC, have shared their concerns loudly and clearly, including numerous rallies in Ottawa and in PEI at the VAC headquarters, fighting for veterans and fighting for their services. And we are also here today because ACVA just studied the contract and the committee report was tabled last week. The report really focused on recommendations around improving VAC's poor communication with workers, with veterans, and with service providers. We saw clearly when we reviewed this contract that those things were delayed, and because of that, veterans and their families suffered. And I have to say that one of the things we should all be concerned is making sure that veterans and their families are provided support, not put into situations where they're getting less support for the meaningful work that they have done for our country. We also ask that the Ombudsman publish review on the impacts of the contract within a year. Veterans need to know what is working and what is not working. We need to have accountability. I was sad to see in that main report that they did not do what the NDP so strongly has advocated for and what we added in our supplemental report, which was to cancel the contract and invest the funds in hiring more permanent case managers. Again and again, we have heard from the case managers that they do not have what they need to do this job because so many of them are being hired temporarily, because the backlogs have gotten so long that the government thinks the only solution is to hire people temporarily, not permanently, to do the important work that they need to do. So we are disappointed that this has happened. It shows again and again that veterans are not a priority for this government, and we are here today to call on the minister to do the right thing, end this contract, and have an increase in hiring permanent positions to provide supports for veterans. So now I'm going to introduce Virginia Vaillancourt, the president of the Union of Veterans Affairs Workers, to speak some more. Virginia.
Thank you, everyone. Well, we are pleased that the committee did recognize the problems with this contract that we've been raising. We're disappointed with the overall conclusions of it, especially that none denounce the privatization of services to veterans, which is very troubling to us. We are deeply concerned that veterans will not get the services they require under the current arrangements, but we are still going to be working to hold the minister and the department accountable to carrying out the recommendations of the committee. We want to improve services to veterans, and one way to guarantee that would be to fully restore the role of our case managers, to fully staff the existing positions and live with the 25-to-1 caseload for case managers that has been recommended by the committee. It's been suggested in the other report. the supplementary report, as well as previously promised by the government in 2015. We believe that the public services, like the ones delivered by case managers to veterans, need to be delivered by trained, experienced, and dedicated public service employees. Veterans deserve more from their government. Veterans deserve better. And we welcome the recommendations for more consultation with the union, but we believe, as the NDP has stated in their supplementary report, that VAC should cancel this contract and start over because our veterans deserve it and the case managers deserve to know where their work is. Thank you.
And now I'm going to invite a veteran, Mr. Chris Banks, to share some with us.
My name is Christopher Banks. I'm a veteran of the Canadian Army, a veteran of peacekeeping operations in Bosnia and combat operations in Afghanistan. Veterans are suffering and dying because of this contract, and I'm afraid that is not an exaggeration. Veterans are falling between the cracks either because PCVRS remains dangerously unprepared and months behind in simply intaking veterans, or because the monopoly this contract creates in veteran healthcare is not available in every community, meaning veterans cannot access care because PCVRS doesn't approve treatment to outside providers. I watched as Minister MacAulay, his deputy, and ADM were presented with testimonies and findings indicating this contract would not serve veterans, nor would it be cost-effective for taxpayers. Yet they expertly stuck to the script and repeated the messaging from their prepared speaking notes. It was theater. This government sold ill and injured veterans to Loblaws, a corporation best known for price-fixing scandals and greedflation, in a contract that allows them to self-assess for financial rewards. They did so without proper consultation, transparency, or accountability. I hope the price tag for selling out veterans was higher than a Caribbean vacation. Prime Minister Trudeau, you promised veterans wouldn't have to fight for care if you were elected. And while I acknowledge you were able to reverse the damage done by the prior Conservative government, your government has created new and equally severe issues for veterans. You have become complacent, expecting the veterans' portfolio to remain quietly in your favor. But you have spoiled your opportunities for real progress. As a veteran, I am calling on the Prime Minister for three things. Cancel this contract and implement the recommendations from the report without delay. Remove Minister MacAulay from his position before more veterans suffer or die as a result of his apathy. And for the Prime Minister to meet with veterans for a real discussion about veterans' issues in Canada. Veterans deserve better. Veterans deserve more than performative and ultimately hollow gestures of gratitude from their government. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And now we're open for any questions. Thank you.